welcome to episode 40. Wait, hold on. What is it? 48?
48.
48 of Two Dudes in a
77.
Movie. I was about to say 47 because, yeah, I still in my mind, like I said before the podcast, we're still doing Magnificent Seven today. But we're not. We're doing Gladiator.
Yes.
So get ready for that.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah. Well, if
We
you're not,
actually made a
then...
T-shirt in high school that said, "Are you not entertained?" It's awesome.
Before we get into the review of that, let's talk about what we've been watching this week.
Awesome.
I've watched a lot.
Awesome.
AJ?
I've watched a lot too.
Yes.
Well, I'll go first if
Yes.
you want, since
Yeah,
I haven't
Paul-
watched a
Paul
whole
go
lot.
first.
Okay,
Go for it.
because I've been we've been busy doing other things, but I've also been playing a lot of video games. I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
Do you have the
And that
DLC?
game, I haven't even finished like the whole
there's a lot.
game
There's a
because
lot.
that game is hugely
Yeah.
extensive.
Nice.
But as far as watching stuff, Jan and I are still watching the middle. We are in the third season.
Nice.
Dude, I love that show.
That's good.
It's so dumb, but it's funny at the
It's
same
good.
time.
Some good family comedy.
family comedy stuff.
That's great.
New stuff that I watched. Jerry Seinfeld has a new comedy stand-up.
23 hours to kill.
23 hours to
I watched
kill.
that this week too.
Dude, Seinfeld's not for everybody, but
Yeah.
dude, this one was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Because he's talking about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Jerry, he's always relatable.
Yeah.
But he's talking about a lot of things, and especially like on the trailer or whatever. It's like he's like, "You guys know me. I could be anywhere right now. If you were me, would you be doing another one of these things?" Like, and so that hooked me right there. I was like,
Right.
"That's so fair." But then he like talks about being like a dad and like how is like it's not that great, but it is. It's supposed to be great and all this other stuff. It was funny. I also watched for the first time Jon Favreau's version of The Jungle Book.
Nice. I
The
love that
live
movie.
action.
Dude,
I love that movie.
I actually really enjoyed it as
Yeah,
well.
it's
I
good.
think I like it better than the original cartoon.
The red flower or whatever they call it.
Yeah, the fire. They call it red flower or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's still not my favorite Jungle Book because there's a different live action with no talking animals that came out in like '96 or whatever that I enjoy. That's supposed to be more true to like the book, but this one was actually very, very good. All animatronic like Avatar animation style of animals and everything. I thought it was good. Makes me want to watch The Lion King, the new version of The Lion King now.
It's okay. The Lion King, man. But that Jungle Book movie was awesome.
The Jungle Book was
They have
good.
no eyebrows.
Dude.
How do you tell what their emotions are?
Dude. I don't know about Lion King. Go ahead.
Then the last thing I watched was the first Expendables movie.
Yes.
Because we talked about it.
Yeah.
We talked about it so much.
I like the first one. The second one's okay. The first one's the best one for sure.
I am a big fan of action movies just in general.
For sure.
Whether they're good movies, quote unquote, or not. I just like movies where
No doubt.
if I can turn it on and somebody gets like shot or there's an explosion or a car chase,
Bro.
I'm gonna probably enjoy it. So,
Yep.
and what's funny is my wife's not home right now, so the dogs are just running around free. So I left the TV on for them, and it's actually an Expendables marathon on FX right now.
I walk in the door and Expendables 2 is on. I was like, "Are you watching Expendables 2 right now?"
And I was like, "Duh."
Why not? It's the best.
But so yeah, that's actually all I've watched this week.
That's funny.
We'll go in order here. Luke's
funny.
next.
Yeah, go
I think I counted earlier. I watched like 8. 8 movies, I think.
Oh,
Nice.
dang.
Let's start all the way back at the beginning, though. So I watched Gladiator one night, and then next night I watched a movie called Clerks. Either you guys watch Clerks?
Yes, with Ryan Reynolds. Where? No. That's a
It's
different.
a Kevin Smith movie. It's Kevin Smith's first movie with like a budget of like $27,000.
Dang. Okay, I've heard of it.
Made in New Jersey. It's one location. It's all shot in black and white because if you shoot it in color, there's a lot more post-production has to go on than if you shoot it black and white. And so to cut costs, they just shot it all in black and white.
Nice.
And so like after the movie was done, I was like, man, that was kind of cool. But then now like a week later, I've been like, man, I think I love that movie. But it's
hilarious.
It's all about.
Could you tell that it was cheap?
Not
particularly.
Not really. No, there's no special effects or anything. But no, it's basically just a a guy who works at a convenience store. He's supposed to be off that day, and he gets called in. And it's just like the most wild day he's ever had at like working at the convenience store. Like it starts off and there's a guy in there trying to convince people not to smoke cigarettes to buy gum, and it turns out the guy was a gum sales rep the whole time. Like he's in there like trying to. And it's hilarious. It was good. At one point they're playing like hockey on the roof because he has like a hockey game. He's like, well, here, I'll close the store and we'll go play like hockey on the roof. And they live in the next door building. Well, it's a convenience store / movie rental place, and there's this goofball that works in the movie rental place, and he's just the absolute worst, like, customer service guy. Like, he's sitting there, he's on the phone, and there's this mom in there with her kid, like, hey, do you have this, like, kids movie? And he's, like, on the phone, like, 1 second. He's, like, ordering movies, and he's like, yeah, can I get Big Boobs #1? Like, it's pretty funny. It's a very smart movie, and it's, like, it's so cool to see what you can do with a budget. Like, that just shows you can take a budget of, like, $27,000 and make, like, a cult classic movie.
Right.
So I recommend watching that movie.
Interesting.
Next one I watched was True Romance. You guys ever seen True Romance?
Nope.
Not at all.
So this is a movie. This guy meets this girl. They fall in love incredibly fast, hence True Romance. Turns out she's a prostitute.
Hey-o.
She is a pimp. Her pimp is Gary Oldman.
What?
And so he has dreads and like a gold tooth, and so the guy in True Romance, the main character, he goes and like kills Gary Oldman, and then they're on the run from like this mob.
What?
And they go to what, Vegas? Brad Pitt's in it.
Oh,
he's a side character.
Dude, what?
He plays a stoner.
Oh,
And so
soul.
yeah, he has this long hair and he's just smoking weed like every time you see him. But
Who is okay, when was this movie made?
Who's the main actor if you got Brad Pitt and
Christian Slater.
Christian Slater. But guess who wrote the movie? Quentin Tarantino.
Of course he did.
And
Nice.
it has a very stereotypical Quentin Tarantino ending.
Dude, this is a star-studded cast.
Yeah. Okay.
Christian
What
Slater,
in the
Dennis Hopper,
world?
Val Kilmer, Brad Pitt, Gary Oldman, Christopher Walken, Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh my god!
What the what?
Who directed it?
Tony Scott.
James Gandolfini.
Hans Zimmer's the composer.
My soul.
This is probably the biggest like star-studded like ultimate like movie that like I don't feel like
no
anybody's
one's ever
ever
seen
watched.
or watched or heard.
Yeah.
Dude, that's bananas.
Samuel L. Jackson's in it for like a minute, and he gets blown away by a shotgun. It's nuts.
Okay,
What is this movie?
I might have to check this out.
It's wild. It was okay. It was good, I'd say. Next, I watched Arrival. First time ever
okay.
seeing that.
I like that.
I
one.
still haven't seen that
So
either.
my favorite,
Amy Adams?
yeah,
Is that
Yeah,
who it
yeah.
is?
and my favorite director, Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, Villanueva.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
This is
yeah.
the one where they're like talking to the aliens in their
Dude,
weird language.
I loved that aspect of the
Yeah.
movie, like talking to the aliens and like and they're trying to figure out. I loved this movie.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Danielle watched it with me too. She's like, dude, that was awesome.
It's a weird movie.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
a weird spin on an alien movie.
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out.
it's
It's
one
good,
of my
though.
favorite alien movies, though.
It's
I
on
think.
Hulu. I think.
Dang.
Yeah, it's on something. I watched it for free. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's on Hulu.
Then I watched, a not guilty pleasure of mine, but a pleasure of mine. Dragon Ball's Super, Broly. Broly's one of the big bads. Like they had a movie with him back in the older series, but it wasn't
Yep.
canon. So this movie was put out to make him canon. It was probably the best Dragon Ball Z movie ever. It was good.
There's more than one Dragon Ball movie.
There's a bunch.
Oh, there's a crap
there's
ton,
probably
dude.
close to 20,
Oh, easily.
and I've seen them all.
Oh my goodness.
But that was awesome. If you're a Dragon Ball fan, watch Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Okay, so Dragon Ball Z was like popular when like we were kids.
Yeah.
And I just like
Dude,
swung and whiffed on that train.
it's
And
still popular
No,
today.
I know, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like,
they just had a
I
new season come out of it
never-
last year,
yeah,
2 years ago.
I just
Yeah.
whiffed on that one. Never got into it.
Next movie I watched is The Cable Guy.
Oh my gosh. Jim Carrey.
Yep, Ben Stiller directed.
That movie's weird.
That movie's
Yeah, Matthew Broderick. That movie is so. I liked seeing Jim Carrey in that role.
Yep.
It was like a dark humor kind of
Yeah.
thing, and like how he only the only thing he references are TV shows because he was basically raised by TV because his mom was absent from his life for the most part. That movie was all right. I like some of the themes in it, but it was okay. Then I watched 8th Grade.
What?
You guys, Bo Burnham fans?
Never heard of him.
Never heard of it.
Okay, so he was a comedian for a little bit. Now he does a lot of writing, directing. He has a couple specials on Netflix, which are awesome. He does a lot of like singing, music kind of stuff. He's very funny, but it was basically just like a true telling of like what someone goes through in middle school, like dealing with like the bullies and dealing with anxiety and all this other, trying to fit in. It was incredibly like accurate because I went through a lot of that stuff in 8th grade, and so like I was like, holy crap, I feel like I'm living like this is my life, but it's a girl, so she has some girl problems. But
Luke doesn't have those, but
I don't have girl problems.
This is my life.
Then I watched
girl problems in 8th grade.
Yeah,
different kind of girl problems, but
different kind of girl problems. Then I watched The Lost City of Z on Amazon.
Oh, nice.
How was that?
That adventure movie. So this movie felt like the pacing was very much like episode 9. Like there is so much to fit into this movie.
There's exposition everywhere.
Well, I didn't know this movie was a true story either.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so it's basically about the guy that discovers like a lost civilization in the Amazons. And
there are no zombies in this, right?
No zombies.
Brad Pitt, where are you? Save us.
Yeah, but
from the zombies.
Brad Pitt was a producer on this. Funny enough.
Funny.
It stars
that is funny.
Stars really Charlie Hunnam and Robert Pattinson, Sienna Miller, and Tom Holland.
Oh, dang.
Oh, yeah.
But at the beginning of the movie is just like bam, 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 bam.
Dang.
Like episode 9, and the last half of the movie is where it gets good because like the best part of it is the adventuring part through the Amazon because they like encounter these tribes of like they're going down the Amazon River. A guy falls in, starts getting eaten by piranhas. That was terrifying.
Ugh.
They're getting shot at by all these Indians. And they befriend Indians.
Piranhas
But it was a solid adventure movie. I think it was way too long. It was a little long.
Out of 10, what'd you give it?
Yeah,
Or
that's
out
what I
of
was about
5,
to
I
ask.
gave it a 3.5 stars. So is that like a 70?
I might watch it. It's on my list forever. I'll probably watch it.
And then I watched Looper.
Have you seen it before?
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, that's a good one.
I thought this movie was very much okay. I hated the ending.
The ending sucks.
I hated it.
Yeah,
The whole time, like,
Yeah.
I was just like, as soon as he found out the kid was the Rain Man, I was like, just pop him. Like, get it all over
Right.
with. Like, then you don't have to go through anything. Just pop the kid. Like, that's my least favorite storyline in movies, is where, like, they figure out something, and they're like, oh, well, let's try and fix it or save it or something. I'm like, just get it over with. Like, just end it.
That's an interesting movie, though.
Oh, no, I love the concept. Like, it was super cool. Like, all the time travel.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Bruce Willis was in it, and then you can't even tell it's, what's his name?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph
JGL.
Gordon-Levitt, yeah, with all the prosthetics and stuff.
Yeah.
Then last week we did Magnificent Seven. Paul recommended me some cowboy western movies. Let me borrow them. So I watched them. True Grit and El Dorado.
Nice.
Watched both of those
Two
this
great
weekend.
ones, yeah. What'd you think?
So I'll start with El Dorado. El Dorado is just a fun western movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
Something I noticed in western movies is like they have a lot of awkward scenes with like and there's like awkward dialogue in it. Like some it's like some scenes are like entirely too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they spend too much like time looking at the camera. Like in True Grit, there's one with the girl who's the worst thing on the entire planet. But she's like, the dad's leaving the farm, and then he's like, "Where's what's her name at?" And she's like, opens the door, "I'm here, Pa." And it's like 2-3 more seconds of her like staring out the window. You're like, ugh.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff like that in El Dorado.
Editing's not great.
Editing's not great, and then some of the you definitely know who the good actors are. Like John Wayne's awesome,
Right.
obviously, but then like some of the other actors, like their line delivery isn't good.
Oh, yeah.
But I still loved both movies. Like
Yeah.
El Dorado was like I wanted to give them both like 4.5, but like I like in the righteousness of my mind I couldn't just because of like acting and some other stuff.
Yeah.
But El Dorado was super fun.
Yeah.
True Grit. I mean, I couldn't stand that girl.
I told you, bro.
She is the worst part of the movie, but the rest of the movie is solid.
Oh, the rest of the movie is great, but man, her being like the main character.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I could not get past that.
I love the scene whenever they go to the not the outhouse, that like house up by the river,
Yeah.
and then they like camp out.
Yes.
And they like pin him in there.
Yeah.
He's like, "You guys come out of there."
They put the jacket on top and like smoke them out. That was cool. Like the John Wayne and the other cowboy guy.
Glenn Campbell is the actor.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
But
the
those two were
character's
were
name.
great.
The guy from Texas.
Yeah,
Texas
she
Ranger.
was just and she kept whipping out like my lawyer, whatever, can.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, I could not stand her.
Yep.
I looked the actress, making sure she never did act in anything ever again. I was like, I can't. There's no way. But
yeah, she's brutal.
So my last thought on the westerns, is like, man. So these movies were both like 2 hours and like 6 minutes, and like one was 2 hours and 8 minutes. I was like, okay, that's not bad. But for some reason, it felt like they lasted all day. Like, it felt like I sat on the couch watching those from, like, sun up to sundown. Which wasn't a bad thing, because I enjoyed 100%, like, watching them. But it just felt like they were longer than 2 hours.
Yeah.
It felt like they were, like, 5 hours.
Go watch The Good, Bad, the Ugly and tell me how long that movie is.
That movie is legit 3 hours.
It's legit 3 hours, but it feels like you've been there for 3 days.
But no.
Yeah, that's kind of a theme with, I feel like, a lot of Westerns, is you do feel like I don't know, again, I don't really know if it's a good or a bad thing, because it does feel like it's a tale that you're there along for the ride with.
And they tell you every bit of it.
And I think it's partially the long shots that, like, over the length of the movie, those add up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, especially The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Well,
something I noticed, especially in these John Wayne movies, it's all basically wide and medium shots. There's never any close-ups.
Right.
I was like just comparing like cinema then to cinema now. It's like how, and especially I'm reading a book right now called the 36. Oh my gosh, hold on. Let me see. I have it on my Goodreads. The 36 dramatic situations, and it basically tells you every situation a movie can be based around, or every problem a movie can be based around.
Interesting.
It's interesting to see that, you know, because you have those. Yeah, you have to borrow it. So it's a short book,
awesome.
180 pages, but it's cool, like reading that and then watching westerns and seeing how those situations apply there, and then situations they use today.
Whenever I teach,
and how they're still the same.
Yeah, whenever I teach storytelling and like screenwriting in my creative writing class, I always use westerns as an example because they're so simple.
Yeah,
it's like you don't have to have a really complicated movie or a complicated plot line to tell a good story.
Yeah,
you know, because westerns, you take one problem, it's literally, this guy needs to, you know, rob a bank, or
go kill the guy that shot my dad.
Yeah, it's literally, it's like you break it down. It's so simple. I mean, True Grit is literally, this guy killed my dad or killed whoever, and now we got to go get him.
And I have a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. You got a lawyer and a pistol that's like way too big.
It holds it like this. All right, you go. I've talked for an hour.
Okay.
That's all my movies.
So I had a Star Wars kick here, and a little because of May the 4th. So I finished Clone Wars. I watched the Mandalorian Legacy stuff.
Yeah.
Or Mandalorian Gallery stuff. The most recent episode that I've watched is the Legacy, which we talked about briefly in our Star Wars Clone Wars episode. We just recorded our bonus feature. But I wanted to hear y'all's thoughts real quick, especially on what we were talking about earlier with Filoni talking about the most important scene, according to him, the most important scene in all of the trilogy, or the prequel trilogy, is the Qui-Gon and Maul fight.
Yeah.
And the way he breaks that down.
Dude.
And you can even see it in the room. All the other directors are like,
they're all so interested.
Yeah, and like at the end when he's done, Bryce Dallas is like, she's like, I'm like crying and have goosebumps right now.
Well, and then John Favreau's like, I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thanks for talking.
But just,
and you're like, what?
The way he put it and like how poetic he is with it. Oh my gosh. He's the true heir to like the George Lucas throne.
Well, you can tell how much he's like sat under Lucas, like all these years,
and he does tell that story too.
Just absorbed all of that, and he is, like you said, he's the heir apparent. Like it just feels like he is the Star Wars like guru right now. Yeah, and I hope he stays with the franchise forever.
God, he's just. I was like, I was incredibly
blown
impressed.
away. If you're a Star Wars fan or Mandalorian fan or whatever, go watch the Mandalorian Gallery on Disney Plus. It's awesome. I watched episode 9. It was my first time to see it since the theater, obviously.
Nice.
I enjoyed it, man. I like that movie a lot. I know it's somewhat controversial. I forget what score I gave it on the show. It's like a 40, 41, 42, somewhere in that realm. Honestly, I'd probably stick to that number, if not bump it up a smidge. But it's one of my favorites for sure. I really, really like Kylo's storyline in that movie. Yeah. I love how Kylo is the antithesis of Anakin in the sense of they start out in two different places, but they end up in the same place. Like Kylo is dark to begin with, Anakin's light to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
And they both Like, so to me, that's really, really cool to take Anakin's storyline and flip it upside down and tell that through Kylo throughout the arc. And then obviously Rey's just great and really, really interesting.
Jedi Master Rey.
Yeah. Okay, so then I went on a kind of a documentary splurge here.
Yeah.
I watched The Unabomber on Netflix. You guys know who The Unabomber is? Because I did not know who The Unabomber was
Vaguely.
until this show.
So I have very
In
little
the
knowledge
70s,
of
80s, and 90s, this guy lived in Montana and built bombs in this shack and then mailed them to people around the U.S. at random. Like, no agenda whatsoever.
Huh.
He had a small agenda, but, like, he didn't pick people for a reason.
His agenda was to blow people up.
Yeah, he had, like, this weird, like, environmental... whatever, anything. But anyway, yeah, so he like killed
something.
He like killed 3 people and injured like 40 people, and like they could not find him for 30 years.
Dang.
And so I watched that podcast. I watched that documentary. It's like 4 episodes long. It's really interesting if that stuff interests you. I just like documentaries. So.
Yeah, a lot of people are really into that, and that's cool. I just don't know. Some of them I'm fine with, but like I was like looking through Prime or whatever, and there's like a Jeffrey Dahmer one, and I was like, really?
Yeah. So for me, documentaries, like I said, they come in kind of like these bursts.
Yeah.
Like I'll watch like 4 of them in a row, and I'm like, I'm done with documentaries for a year. But I'll come back to them eventually.
Yeah.
Last Dance, man. I cannot talk this show up enough, bro.
I want to watch that.
I'm blown away. It just ended last night. So I watched Gladiator last night until about 10:30, and I saw The Last Dance come on, and I was like, it's going to take me 2 more hours to watch this. I really don't want to stay up, but... I'll do it. So I stayed up and watched it. Dude, like, it's so good. Like, I just cannot talk it up enough. Like, if you're a Jordan fan, NBA fan, sports fan in general, one of the best documentaries I've ever seen in my entire life.
And I know we talked about it last week, but do we know when it might be coming to a streaming service?
I don't know for sure. I don't know if it's going to go to Hulu or Netflix or both. I would assume Netflix because they're the ones who help partner produce it. But I would also assume Disney Plus / Hulu because Disney owns ESPN. So
right.
That's going to be coming soon. I mean, I'm sure they want as many people to watch as
I'm hoping.
Yeah, and if you have the ESPN, Hulu, Disney bundle, you can watch it for free on your ESPN app.
So, well, I don't have that, but
yeah, I think.
I have that.
You have that. Anyway, you don't want to watch it because you're not a whatever.
I don't like basketball.
Yeah, Luke hates basketball because of his.
Yet he works for a basketball team.
Yeah, Sam Presti, if you're listening. I love you, but Luke apparently doesn't. So.
But he loves his job, I think.
I love my job.
Just tired of basketball. The other. Oh, actually, 2 more. Stink. 2 more documentaries I watched. One's called The Devil Next Door. So this guy was this like Nazi death camp operator at like one of the worst Nazi death camps.
Yeah.
During the World War II, and it's like in the 80s, and he's an old man.
There's a second
who
Nazi
lives
camp?
in Cincinnati. Yes. I think it's Cincinnati. It might be Cleveland. Anyway, it's one of the 2.
One of them C's.
Yes. And he is accused of being this guy from World War II. And so there's no way to prove it. There's no DNA. There's no way to prove it other than eyewitnesses and a few random like documents that they have. But they can't necessarily trust the documents. And so he goes on this huge court case for like 8 years. He gets extradited to Israel to be put on trial. And all these like eyewitness survivors of these Holocaust camps
yes, that was the man.
testify. And you're like, I want to trust you because clearly that was a really traumatic experience for you. And you would probably recognize the guy who did it. But
hopefully
is not like, first of all, he's like 50 years older now than he was.
Yeah, wrinkles.
Second of all, you're 50 years older now than you were. And third of all, it's like you might honestly just be like wishing it was him.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you actually trust the eyewitnesses and send this guy to jail for life? And then in Israel, they're going to kill him. He's got the death penalty.
Right, yeah.
For the death penalty because he's like responsible. If it's actually him, he's responsible for like hundreds of thousands of deaths of the Jews in this concentration camp. And so it's this really interesting, and the show does it great because I have no idea how it turns out. I've watched it now. I know how it turns out. But during the show, I had no idea. They do such a great job of making you think it's him. One episode, and the very next episode, you're like, nah, it's not him.
Yeah.
And then they do the whole show, and you're like, It's actually really interesting. Partially because it's the Nazi concentration camp storyline.
Yeah.
Also partially because it's like, can you actually trust eyewitnesses? Is that enough to condemn a person to death or not? And so it's like it's partially the Nazi storyline. It's partially that kind of like judicial system. Is it
courtroom kind of?
Yeah. And I just love the courtroom drama stuff. And so, dude, for me, that was a great documentary. I really enjoyed that. It's on Netflix called The Devil Next Door. I highly recommend it if you like documentaries. The other one I watched, or currently am watching, are the Ted Bundy tapes on Netflix.
Yeah.
And they are creepy, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, that's one of the few of those weird serial killers that I've actually heard about.
Did you watch the Zac Efron movie with him?
So I'm going to watch it as soon as I finish the tapes.
Yeah.
So there's 2 episodes left.
Was Sheldon Cooper in it?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So I'll watch that movie whenever I finish this. But it's so that he did one interview. Same with the Unabomber, actually. He did one interview, and they both shows, the Ted Bundy show and the Unabomber show, used those interview tapes like as the kind of like backbone of the show.
Yeah.
They filled it in with all kinds of different stuff. But anyway, it's so creepy to hear him talk about it because you're like oh, it's nuts, dude.
Yeah.
And then I watched the Jerry Seinfeld special.
Yeah.
Took me a little bit to get used to his style because I hadn't seen him stand up and.
Well, I was about to say, have you ever seen his stand-up?
I've seen his stand-up before, but it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
And
he's very different.
He's unique. And it took me a while to get his style down. Kind of with Maniscalco, same thing. I was just like, I had never seen him before, so it took me a while to get used to it. But he's funny, dude. He's just a funny guy, and he tells funny stories that everyone can relate to.
Yes.
Like he tells one joke is, 20 years ago, can you imagine walking out of your house and some international person in some janky old car walks up and says, hop in.
Yeah.
But now that's what we do with Uber. And he's like, we pay for people to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny because like 20 years ago, you're like, no, get out of my driveway. Like, what are you doing? But now it's like, oh, come on, let's go. So it's like, he just makes fun of stuff like that. Yeah. He's just a funny guy.
I forgot about the Uber thing.
Yeah, he's just a funny guy.
The best part about the whole thing is he's like, I will convince you how close great and sucks are together, and I will even tell you that they're the exact same thing.
That's a great joke.
And I was like, dude.
Well, then he's like,
when he got to the big punchline of that whole thing, I was like, that's so, because he's so smart too. I was like, it's what you said is hilarious, but also really, really smart,
really clever. Well, the whole great sucks thing. He drops like his coffee or something. He's like,
ice cream.
Says, oh great. And that's like the point is that you say, oh, that sucks. But he says, oh, great. And so it's like great and sucks are literally the same. They're interchangeable. And he's like, so he gives all these examples. He's funny. Anyway, so I watched that special. And then I watched Gabriel Iglesias' most recent special called One Size Fits All. Yeah. One Show Fits All. Yes. And he's pretty funny, dude. Like,
I love him.
He's funny, man. He's a great comedian. He's not my favorite. He's top 3, top 5 probably. He's just a funny dude. He tells a story with Snoop Dogg. He goes on his show.
Oh, so I saw this performance. Not that specific Netflix special, but like the same tour.
Yeah.
I saw the show. Yeah.
Dude, and so he tells this story about Snoop Dogg and he nails Snoop Dogg's voice. Yeah. It is so, he's like, what's up, Big Fluff? And it's so funny, bro. And you can actually go on YouTube and watch that like, interaction with him and Snoop, and he's like trying to smoke this like huge. Anyway, it's pretty funny, dude. And I like Gabriel Iglesias. I like watching comedians that I've seen before because I can like instantly just pick up their kind of style. And so he's funny, man. I love his voices that he does. They're so good.
He's probably my favorite or second favorite comedian.
Yeah, he's great. I love his. Oh my god!
Yeah.
That voice he does is so good.
His white people voice,
so funny, dude. Okay, so Callie read this book called One Night with the King. It's one of her favorite books of all time.
One of her favorite books.
One of her favorite books of all time, and it's a like fictional-ish version of the Esther storyline.
Yeah,
it's a really popular book, and apparently it's a really good book. I've never read it, but a lot of people like it, and it's really good. And so these people made this movie. And as a kid, she loved the movie, so she's like, "We gotta watch this movie." And I was like, "I hope you know it's not gonna be very good." She's like, "It'll be better than it won't be as good as I remember, but it won't be bad." And I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be bad." She's like, "No, it'll be good." We literally get like 30 minutes, and then she's like, "You want to turn it off?" And I was like, "Yes." She's like, "You want?" So I was like, "Yes." And we both just like, "Okay." We turned it off and quit. So anyway, we watched that, but don't really count it. It was brutal, dude. Like literally brutal. The first 30 minutes, like. It's just painful.
You know, it pains me to say it, because the source material is so good.
It's a great story.
People don't know, other than Mel Gibson, don't know how to make a Christian movie.
Dude, literally.
About Bible stories.
No, literally. It's
like
the
they're horrible.
The Bible is the source of like so many great stories. Like so many cool stories to tell, and people just can't do it. They're so bad at making movies. Oh, dude, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, we just need to hire Mel Gibson to just do like the entire Bible.
We do the Passion of the Christ, but this one
in a different story.
Like all the stories. Yeah. So anyway, I watched all those. I don't know what I'm gonna watch next. Honestly, I have. I'm kind of on this documentary thing. I might just be done with that though.
Ooh,
we'll see. Okay, top 5.
Top 5.
Let's do it.
We got a good one this week.
Okay, so top 5 was fun. I really enjoyed this list.
Yeah.
Okay.
So top 5 was, I actually didn't even write it down in my book. I know what it was based off of, but it's like movies we think everybody should watch.
Yeah. Like if you haven't
in
seen
your
it,
lifetime.
Like,
if you haven't seen it, you're like, what?
Yeah.
You gotta watch the movie. It's like that kind of movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also kind of like, and this may be more of a, if AJ would agree or not, I kind of think of like most of these movies like, when my kid gets to a certain age, it's gonna be like, all right, we're watching.
For sure. There'll be a shelf, just like when my dad had. We were kids. There'll be a shelf, and I'll say, "Son, one day, one day that shelf, whatever movie you want, one day, and that'll be awesome. That'll be so cool." And so for me, that's definitely part of where this list came from for me.
Yeah.
So for me, I excluded a lot. To me, there's a lot of like. Of course. I excluded like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potter franchise, a lot of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
I excluded a lot of the big franchises.
I actually do have a couple, but it's singular movies. I'm not saying like but out of the 10 that I have, it's only 2 that are that way.
Love it.
So
yeah, I have a couple of my honorable mentions from like a big series.
Awesome. Okay. Me first, I guess.
Go for it.
So I have 3 like groups of movies and then 1 like singular movie as my honorable mention. So my first honorable mention is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Every human being needs to watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail at least once. If you don't like it, that's whatever. It's your thing. But you got to watch it at least once. Okay, this is where it gets fun. So I lumped Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, MCU, and the Dark Knight trilogy, and I said that's like 1 on my list. So literally all 4 of those series, trilogies, sagas, whatever you want to call them. For me,
but like 50.
They're iconic
no
movies.
Kidding. What a cop-out, AJ.
I'm just saying I wanted to lump them together because I don't want to ruin my list. I want my list to be very, very good. Okay. My other 2 kind of lumps are Quentin Tarantino in general.
And then Chris
Nolan in general. Again, if I were making this list, Chris Nolan would
dominate the list.
Exactly. Exactly. And so for me, I lumped all of his movies together.
5, Memento. 2.
Literally.
Inception, number 1.
Memento, Inception, Dark Knight, Interstellar, Prestige. Come on, bro.
1, 1.5, 1 3/4.
Exactly. So for me, I did y'all a favor, and I put them on my honorable mention list.
Smart.
Okay? So there you go. That's my list.
Okay.
Smart.
So I have 5 honorable mentions. Man, this one was one that flip-flopped between the top 5 and honorable mentions. I was like back and forth so much, but Jaws.
Yep. I have that as an honorable mention. I agree.
Nice.
Braveheart's an honorable mention.
Nice.
Holes, honorable mention.
Dude.
Classic. Love Holes.
Yeah, that's
a
classic.
That's like every like
Call me
preteen,
Mr.
like young
Sir.
kid, like that's
Mr. Sir.
What's your name?
With the
Mr. Sir.
with the sunflower seeds.
He looks insane.
That's too dang bad.
The big old bag of sunflower
It's a
seeds.
great
Yeah.
movie. I love that movie.
Rocky, number 1.
Oh,
the first Rocky.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Last one's Back to the Future.
Nice. Yes, Back to the Future in one of the top 5. Woo!
Oh, man.
Dude, that's awesome.
I will not make my kids watch those movies. If they want to watch them, that's fine. But
At least the
that's
first
fun.
one. First one's too good.
First one's good. So yeah, I also had Jaws as an honorable mention.
Nice.
I have The Patriot
Oof.
Yeah.
as an honorable mention. Oh, here's another. Actually, I forgot that's technically like an anthology, but it's mainly the first one is Die Hard. Gotta watch Die Hard.
Christmas movie, yeah.
Yeah, it's we really do watch it every year at Christmas.
Awesome.
And then Training Day
Okay.
with Denzel, and then Dark Knight.
Oof. Dark Knight is so good. Chris Nolan. Okay, number 5. Number 5 for me is Raiders of the Lost
Interstellar.
Ark.
Oh.
So I wanted to include Indiana Jones on my list of like all the great movie series and trilogies and stuff. And I thought about it's just not quite as good as the other series that I listed. It's kind of a second tier down. And so what I did was I just picked my favorite, which is the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So for me, number 5, a movie every human being should watch at least once, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
So I want to just add one thing that I want to keep an eye on, and when we get to the end, is look at kind of think about how old or new the movie is. And then we'll loop back to that.
Love it.
I actually sat down before this, and I sat there and went 2000s movie, 1990s movie.
Yeah.
2000. I sat there and like did it on my fingers. My number 5, Napoleon Dynamite.
I almost put Nacho Libre on my list, but I didn't do it.
Man, I think
Nacho!
everyone's seen Napoleon Dynamite.
I love
Like,
it.
this is a movie-
Unfortunately.
I think even like kids to like Gen Z or whatever even
No,
see
Whatever
it.
they are.
But
They
this
still
is
watch
like epitome of like you can make a comedy movie.
Talk about
like,
low budget, bro.
About
low
nothing.
budget with like unheard of actors for the most part.
What a
and
stupid movie.
just like you can make something that's so iconic. People quote all the time like like every time I need chapstick, I'm like my lips are real bad.
I always think of your dad with Uncle Rico. I don't know why, but your dad is Uncle Rico. I throw a pigskin,
It is a
quarter
little
mile.
bit, yeah.
I throw a pigskin over them mountains.
No, my dad quotes it a lot too. He's like,
He throws this steak at him while he's
Yeah.
riding the bike up to the.
I can throw a pigskin a quarter mile.
He throws like that.
My dad he always quotes it like wrong too. He's like, just fix yourself a dang quesadilla.
Quesadilla.
Yeah, but
Rex
man,
Kwando.
that movie's iconic.
I love Rex
Iconic.
Kwando. Rex Kwando.
Yeah.
Think I got where I am today? Dressing like Peter Pan over here? Forget about it.
Cause going to Starl every night.
Oh man, that movie's so dumb, but it is so good and iconic. Like to me, like that movie, Monty Python, Nacho Libre, like those are all.
Yeah.
To me, they're all together.
Yeah.
For sure.
Whoa, wait, me now.
Yeah,
I
number
lost
5.
so much train on my
Number 5.
number 5. Okay.
Starla every night.
On a completely different side of the universe from Napoleon Dynamite, I have A Quiet Place.
Oh, boy,
love it, bro.
I can feel that.
That's so good.
Quiet Place, dude, that's so good. Obviously one of the 2 movies that I've given a 50 on
Yeah,
on the
sir.
show. The other one is not on this list, but is a very good movie as well. But yeah, love that movie.
That's a good stuff. I almost put that one on my honorable mention. Number 4 for me is Shutter Island. Dude, and this one for me is a reason it's on my list is partially because it's underrated and it's not as well known as the other movies on my list. And so I wanted to include one that wasn't as like iconic.
Yeah.
Because it's like all the movies I'm going to list are like iconic movies.
Right.
And so I wanted to list one that was like somewhat well known because it's Leonardo DiCaprio and it's the director.
Ruffalo.
But the director
Scorsese.
So it's like it's well known for those reasons, but it's not like as much of like a foundational cinematic like milestone as the other movies on my list.
Right.
I wanted to include that one also because the ending is awesome and it's a great thing to talk. It's kind of a fun discussion topic for a lot of people who haven't seen the movie before.
Okay. My number 4 is the movie we're reviewing today, Gladiator.
Nice.
That is one like
So good.
So I was making this list. I was sitting there realizing I was like, man, Danielle hasn't seen like any of these movies.
Yep.
First,
Before you have kids, you have like your kids list. But before you have like even talk about kids list, you have like the like significant other list. Like we can't go on like our 5th date until you've watched this movie.
Yeah. I was like sitting there like going through. I was
For
like,
sure.
I think this is one day like a few months ago. I'm like, you've seen Gladiator, right? She's like, no. I was like, you've seen Castaway? She's like, no. I was like, Patriot. No? I was like,
Napoleon Dynamite. No. What?
We're breaking up right now.
but no, like Gladiator is one like a staple. Like a lot of people
Oh,
whenever
yeah.
you talk about like what's your favorite movie of all time, it's like I know at least like some people are older, they're like Gladiator. Like Gladiator was like I mean he won an Academy Award, so I mean we'll talk more in detail.
5
but,
Academy Awards.
But
Yep.
like Gladiator, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude.
Good stuff.
My number 4 and is I know on a lot of people's list, but is Godfather.
Yes.
First one.
Good stuff.
And yes, long A movie, but I love mobster movies, and this is like the quintessential
Yeah.
mobster
Iconic.
movie.
Why are they all so
Iconic.
long? Like,
Dude, that's a great
It's
question.
Like, it's like the Western thing, man. They just make long, kind of dragged out movies. That
they just tell the
epic-
entire story.
Yeah, bro,
like
they just-
Scarface is like 3
Yeah, they do
hours.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Godfather,
Irishman, Goodfellas.
They're all so long.
They're over to
Yep.
Well, Scorsese, pretty much every movie he
Yeah,
makes is
he
over
does.
2.5
Yeah,
hours long.
Yeah.
But
Departed.
yeah, so yeah, Godfather.
Good stuff. Number 3 for me is Saving Private Ryan.
It's my number 3.
Dude, freaking great movie. I'm pumped. We're actually going to do this movie in a week or two for
Yeah, we're gonna
Military
do
month.
yeah,
June,
for June
yep.
6th for it's the 75th anniversary of D-Day.
Yeah.
In
No, it's the 75th anniversary of the war ending.
of Victory Day.
Yep.
Sweet.
V-Day.
So yeah, V-Day, not D-Day. Awesome. Yeah. So anyway, that's gonna be super cool. I'm really excited. But I love Saving Private Ryan. For me, it's like the quintessential war movie. I mean,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna teach a class on how to make a war movie, like class 101, here we go. Saving
Yeah,
Private
right.
Ryan. I mean, it's so good. Tom Hanks kills it. Spielberg obviously is a genius. I mean, the dude's awesome. So love that movie.
No, I mean I can't have much. Like you said, this is like pinnacle war movie to me. It's like you start here and then you go down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it will be like that for a long time. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
For real.
No, just like the brutality of it that it shows, the realisticness, and the story's good. Tom Hanks, of course, is fantastic. Like, you can't deny, like, a lot of the movies on mine, I try to sit there and think, I'm like, all right, what did this movie do for, like, cinema
Yeah.
as a whole?
doubt.
As
Yeah.
well as it being just, like, an overall good movie.
No doubt.
And this one, just, the cinematography, the grittiness of it, I think this did a lot for war movies, and just, 'cause I don't think a lot of people were used to this kind of gore in movies at the time.
Right.
This was very out there.
Yeah.
And so it kind of championed that a little in a way.
They have to do that story justice. I mean, D-Day is brutal. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the most brutal battles in all of human history, and so they had to kind of go
We
for
have
it.
so many expectations of all
Yeah,
these like
no doubt.
veterans and all these people have ties to that
Yeah.
war.
Well, and you got to
like-
think about it too. It was in '98 or '99 when that movie came out. A lot of those World War II vets are still alive at that point.
Right.
Today, we don't have very many World War II vets around anymore, unfortunately. But back then, 20 years ago, whatever years ago,
Yeah, they'd be in like their 80s
there's
or
still a
90s
lot of
right
them
now.
kicking around, and so I think that was really cool for them to get to see that movie.
Yeah. My number 3 is The Matrix, the very first one.
That was in my top 20 for this.
Dude, yeah, like it's one of the probably first like maybe 5th or 6th rated R movie I ever saw.
Yeah.
And it just, spiked a whole love of the entire everything, so I have to add that one on there.
Nice. Number 2 for me is Gladiator. A movie we're
That
gonna
is
talk about
my number
tonight.
2
Bro,
also.
Look at you
it is
guys.
so flipping good. I'm so excited to talk about this movie, man. I
Yes.
love this movie. This will for sure be one of the first 2 or 3 rated R movies that I show my kids whenever my kids are old enough.
I don't even know why it's rated R.
Yeah, there's a little bit of blood and
That's like
Well,
in today's
but not-
times. That's very PG-13.
but no, it's you're right.
Right.
And there's very little language and there's no I don't think there's anything like graphic.
There's no nudity or anything.
Yeah,
anyway.
so it's very much a PG-13.
Just a creepy
There's a
dude.
weird
Yeah.
incest type scene.
Well, yeah, I forgot about that part. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, no, I love this movie, man. It's so iconic, like so iconic. So yeah, that's all I got to say. We'll talk about it a lot later.
A lot.
My number 2 is another Tom Hanks movie, Castaway.
Yes,
Dude, that's a
Classic.
good one.
That's a great.
This
movie.
is one, at least for me, when I was younger, like, and actually watched cable.
That's such a good movie to put on this list because it's so iconic and it's so like you never seen Castaway. Like,
Yeah.
that's such a good movie to put on this list.
That's like for me at least, like growing up, it was one like, oh my gosh, like everyone's seen Castaway. Everyone knows Wilson. Everyone knows
Right.
like, the iconic where he like knocks his tooth out with the skate. Like it's crazy. Like
Brutal.
I saw that movie like as a kid. Like I wasn't even like, my parents were like, oh, you have to watch Castaway. I was
Were you
like,
scared of flying on airplanes after that?
no, not really. If anything, Tom Hanks made me feel like I could survive on an island forever.
Right.
Gave you confidence.
But yeah, but to get like for me, what this did for like cinema, I guess, is like having a great actor there. I mean, this was up for Academy Award the same year Gladiator won.
Yeah.
Which sucks. That's the only reason
Wow.
Tom Hanks didn't get the Academy Award.
that
I think.
crazy?
Yeah.
That
But
is
no,
nuts.
like just having one actor like by himself acting basically to a volleyball.
Yeah.
For like
Right.
the movie's long, so
No
it's like
doubt.
2.5 hours, whatever it is. For
That
the
just gave me a great idea for like a future like segment of the show. We could potentially like go back in time and like actually choose like best act. Like who would you actually vote for? Best actor.
Oh yeah.
Like Russell Crowe or
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like that'd
Or
be a
Tom
fun
Hanks.
conversation.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. But anyway, that's a great movie. I love Castaway.
Was good. Well, yeah, my number 2 also was Gladiator. This was for sure, I know, the first rated R movie I ever watched.
Love it.
And I think I told this story a little while ago. It was because it's weird because this movie came out in 2000 and the scale of how rated R's, and even like if you look at an old 80s movie that's PG, you know, certain things it's like, wow. I mean, pretty much for blood and gore is fighting is the only reason.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but yeah, we saw Return of the King in theaters, and for some reason, I guess I'd been kind of like, I was around that time, I was like starting to like want to watch a lot of rated R movies, and my dad was like, well, there was about as much blood in Return of the King as there is in Gladiator, so let's watch Gladiator.
Why not?
That's awesome.
And so that was it.
That's awesome. My number 1 is
Braveheart.
Braveheart, bro.
Oh.
It's gotta be Braveheart.
I was like, Inception?
I think I've known since we announced
It's
this list.
gotta
what it
be
just was.
Braveheart. Like when I met Callie and we went on a first couple of dates, legit, one of the first questions I ever asked her was, "Have you watched Braveheart?" And she said no, and I was like, "Okay." Tomorrow night,
Strike one.
we're watching Braveheart.
We're not dating anymore.
We're watching Braveheart. She's like, "Okay," and I was like, "Perfect. This girl's for me." Anyway, Braveheart.
Does she like Braveheart? Wait a minute.
Bro, she actually does. She
Okay,
actually, she
all
actually
right.
liked it.
All right.
Anyway, freaking love this movie. Iconic as all get out, dude. You see, like, almost every couple of years, someone spoofing, making fun of this movie in some way. Like, just, dude, like, oh, have you guys seen, this made me think of, have you guys seen Kevin James, like, YouTube channel?
The one where he
He's
does
like the sound guy.
Sound guy, yeah.
Like, sound check. You guys you've never seen that video?
No.
I've seen them.
They're hilarious. So he
they're
does one for
good.
Braveheart's speech. He's like, "You sound check," and Mel Gibson's like going on this like rampage like speech. He's like, "Guy, I just need a sound check. Need a sound check over here. Oh, hey. Melt, and it's hilarious, dude.
It's good.
Anyway, so bro, Braveheart, man, so funny. Not funny. Kevin James is funny. So good. I love Braveheart. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But man, how iconic is that movie?
Yeah. So my number 1 is probably like not the best movie on the list, but probably I think is the most iconic movie.
Well, we already got Back to the Future out of the way, so
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
2049.
No, Forrest Gump.
Dude,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
2 Tom Hanks movies in your top 2?
Yeah, I think my top 3
Top
is all Tom
3 is
Hanks
all Tom
movies.
Hanks. Saving Private Ryan,
Oh,
Castaway,
yeah.
Forrest Gump.
But the amount of time, like, this probably has been on TV more than any other movie
Oh my gosh.
No doubt.
ever.
Bro.
Everyone knows Forrest Gump. Jenny's the villain, the ultimate villain of the universe. Because she's the villain of that movie.
Janae.
But yeah, probably one of the most quotable movies out there.
Dude, no kidding.
Bro, my favorite GIF of all time is the one where he comes bolting out of that corner and like what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He like sprints and he's like
Yeah.
taking
He's
it. I use that GIF all the
running.
time.
Forrest, run!
I use that GIF all the time.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I think that movie is just so like intertwined with like what we do. Like run, Forrest, run. Like that.
Oh, dude.
Like whenever I was running track and soccer and stuff, you hear that probably once a day.
Easily.
Life is like a box.
But no, it's the movie's. I mean, the story's good. It's cool going through all the timelines and Vietnam and
Dude, yeah. The
Black
Epic-
Panthers and
epic
whatnot.
story, yeah.
Yeah.
the quotability of that, like, so I obviously have 3 dogs and I have different names for all of them, and so since we only have one boy dog, I will every once in a while call him Bubba, and so every time I say Bubba, my wife goes, "We gotta get Bubba," and I'm just like, "Oh my god,"
Yeah.
because that's legit one of her favorite movies.
No,
so funny.
it's good. Yep.
So, all right, my number 1 is a Tom Hanks movie that has already been mentioned. Is Saving Private Ryan.
Yes.
Dude, I will.
So
This
good.
will probably be any of my top 3. Actually, will probably be one of. If I ever have a son, it probably will be either Gladiator or Saving Private Ryan. That will be the first rated R movie that kid ever watches because it's just so iconic. And I mean, before I'd even seen it, I remember I had a teacher who, I think she was an English teacher or something or other, said, I don't, we're kids, and so they got to say, all right, well, cussing is bad and all this stuff. She's like, if you want to watch something that's really good and accurate to a historical moment, and it was D-Day is what she was talking about, watch the first 15, 30, whatever minutes of Saving Private Ryan and just tell your parents to get over it, because if your buddy's bleeding out in the hole next to you, you're not going to say, well, darn, shoot, stuff like that. Like it's
real.
It's real. And so that was one of the things that I always remember about this movie. But other than that, this movie is so iconic, kind of like AJ and Luke were saying earlier.
Good. Where did you have it?
My favorite.
3.
I had it 3 too.
Yep.
Our top 5s are honestly pretty similar.
Pretty similar.
Those are all great movies, man. Great movies.
And I would think that, kind of to get a little meta question on the top 5, with us being in the same-ish age group, I would assume a lot of people in our age group would probably say movies like Gladiator, Braveheart, Saving Private Ryan, like those, Castaway, Forrest Gump, those would be pretty high in the list.
Yeah, that's what I was going for with this list. I'm like, what would everyone else say?
And I feel like those are movies that our parents grew up with, and that's why they are iconic for us and for our generation.
I gotcha.
Movies like Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Jaws and Jurassic Park and like those like iconic movies, I feel like are yeah.
So one little last thing, and it was kind of what I said earlier, like out of the majority, like what would you say is the age of the movie that and maybe the most recent movie on your top 5? Like mine is Quiet Place.
Shutter Island's the most recent for me.
Yeah, but I mean the general
like in our top 5
is like for me is like the 2000s.
Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite's my most recent movie.
Yeah, I mean, if I think about it, Indiana Jones is 5, that's in the 80s, and then the other 3 are in the 90s. Gladiator's what, 98, 2000? Yeah, 2000. Yeah, because Saving Private Ryan's 98, Braveheart's 95, and Gladiator's 2000. So, I mean, 4 of my top 5 are 2000 or older.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, mine's around that way.
And I think that it's just kind of the age group we were.
And I think, like, okay, so for real, like Lord of the Rings, Dark Knight trilogy, MCU, Star Wars, like, if we're talking about iconic, like, those types of, like, series and stuff, that kind of changes the list, obviously. I think that's why we kind of stayed away from doing that.
Honestly, I didn't even think about those movies. This is my list either way.
Really?
Even if I thought about including a Star Wars movie or a Lord of the Rings movie, this is my list.
See, for me, it's different because I feel like I could show my kids Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, MCU, Dark Knight, Indiana Jones,
right,
before I can get to Gladiator and Braveheart and
a little bit more kid
Saving
friendly.
Private Ryan.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
me,
I guess that's true.
That's kind of why I guess I put it on the bottom. Work my way up, I guess.
I gotcha.
It's fun, dude. That's a great list.
That was good.
Yeah, good stuff.
For sure. Okay, let's do it. Gladiator.
Gladiator, yeah.
All right.
Give us
so,
those beats.
We're doing Gladiator. Let's see. Got to get the other book because that's where I keep my movie notes. Okay. A former Roman general sets out to exact vengeance against the corrupt emperor who murdered his family and sent him into slavery. Came out in 2000, like we've said a couple of times, directed by Ridley Scott. Russell Crowe is the main actor, and Joaquin Phoenix was the corrupt emperor.
Arthur Fleck.
Arthur
Fleck.
What a great cast.
Dude. And Richard Harris, was that Marcus Aurelius?
Yeah, Sir Richard Harris.
Yeah, great actor.
He plays Dumbledore.
In the first 2 before he died.
Yeah.
Budget of $103 million for 2000. That's a substantial amount.
Visual effects.
Probably, yeah. It earned $457 million. So
I think that's pretty good for 2000.
Made quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Score wise, IMDb was an 8.7. Rotten Tomatoes was a 77. And Metacritic was a 67.
Brutal.
So interesting there. Won 5 Oscars.
5 Oscars. Yeah.
Best Picture, Actor, Sound Mixing, Visual Effects, and Costume Design.
Dang. Or Castaway. That was a rough year for Castaway.
Dude.
I think Castaway won 3 or 4.
I'm sure it did, but
Yeah, best supporting actor, a ball.
yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix was nominated.
He was nominated
Best
for
Supporting
best
Actor.
supporting. I don't know what beat him.
I just
but-
got more emotion out of the volleyball, to be honest.
Yeah, the volleyball wasn't very creepy.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. My wife last
But-
night was like,
He's a perv.
he's like, what is happening?
But
so
this was
weird.
also a pick for me. Is what we're even though we all love this movie.
Yeah.
But I am gonna do. I don't know for those of you that listen. A while back, AJ did this with The Tourist of not actually scoring the movie until hearing the other people's opinions. I'm gonna do that with this movie as well because I could easily give this movie a 50 out of 50. And I have done that a couple of times, and I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't do it again. But we'll see. We'll let my co-hosts sway me.
I got some scores here for you.
It's not going to be as low as The Tourist, okay?
No.
Okay. Idea/premise is the first section we score movies based on. For me, I gave this section a 10 out of 10. The movie is so epic and the story is so epic that it's like literally it's incredible. Like the first 20 minutes where he's a general, you're like, oh yeah. And then he gets sold to slavery, like, oh no. And then he becomes a gladiator, like, oh yes. And then he like defies the emperor and he becomes more powerful than the emperor. Like,
Yeah.
So for me, the idea/premise, bro, like I gave it a 10 out of 10. It is so interesting and compelling and epic. I don't know how original it is. Like, I feel like it's a pretty unique story of this guy. Like, it's kind of not, I guess, if you think about it. But
I was gonna say that's my first note. Not original.
it's kind of not that original. But I don't really care because it's so compelling and interesting and epic. So I gave it 10.
I give a section a 6. I wrote not original because to me this is like I feel like I've seen this before. You know, like guy gets betrayed. You know, falls from grace in a way and has to work his way back to exact revenge. It feels kind of John Wicky.
This came out before John Wick.
I know. I'm just saying, like this plot's been used.
No, I know. I'm just giving you. No, I agree. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it matters. I think this movie, like, so for example, like, it would bother me if it wasn't as good of a version of this story as another movie.
It is well executed.
But for me personally, since it's the like best version of this story of the fall from grace and the revenge, like. That's why I don't care. See what I'm coming from?
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I totally agree with you. It's not original. But for me, it doesn't bother me. Like John Wick, it bothers me more because it's like, it's not as good of a version of this story. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I compare it to Braveheart too. Like literally the movie, we were like 30 minutes into Gladiator. Daniel's like, is this Braveheart?
Yeah.
I was like,
literally.
Because, you know, the wife and family gets killed. He doesn't want anything to do with the war anymore after, you know, whatever he's done. Then he gets sucked back into it by this. And it's all about exacting your... Well, I mean, Braveheart, they don't make it about revenge. But it's a little bit around
and Braveheart's more about, like, liberty and freedom, independence, and...
But they follow the same path.
And no, you're totally right.
And I couldn't, and Danielle didn't like Gladiator, but I think because of that. But I think if we watched Gladiator before Braveheart, she would have liked.
See, those are two of the best movies of all time. And so it's like, does it really bother me that they like used this? You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't bother me because it's so freaking good. Like who cares? You know what I'm saying? That's just where I'm coming from, and I'm totally biased. Like I love this movie. It's in my top 10 movies of all time. And I watched the movie probably 10, 15 times in my lifetime. It's one of the first movies I ever watched when I was growing up that was rated R. So it's like, this is, like we just talked about, iconic movies. So I'm 100% biased. So don't hear me say that I'm like being objective about this movie. I'm going to try to be objective as much as I can, but
that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to be
Luke's here to poop on the parade. So,
so okay. My initial reaction was to side very, very much with Luke.
Right.
Because I do agree wholeheartedly that it's... and especially the son angry at the father,
Right.
turning into the bad guy.
Right.
That's very, very played out, even in movies before. I do, agree.
Right.
All these movies that I can think of immediately, yes, came out after
No, you're
Gladiator and stuff like that. But I do like and agree with AJ's point of it being a bigger, epic story with different nuances here and there. I'm not going to go all the way up to a 10, but I would say, because I feel like what you're saying is more of a plot thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually give that section a 7, just because of the, although the setup was very, very great, I do love the initial battle scene at the very beginning. That's probably, I think when it was on my list for something we did, maybe of like fight scenes or whatever, however long ago that was.
It's a great scene.
So 7.
Cool.
Okay.
Character. Give character a 10.
Oh!
And I gave character a 10.
AJ's going to have a 50. Wait a minute.
I gave character a 10 because of Maximus. First of all, is awesome. He's like just such a archetypal hero. But also because of Joaquin Phoenix's bad guy is so creepy and you just edgy. You don't know what he's gonna do. You still feel that tension. He's still weird and dark and conniving, and he's always got this plan, and he's just such a good bad guy. And then the side characters are really solid. I like Proximo a lot. He's one of my favorite characters in the movie.
Yeah.
I like the other Gladiator guy, the big, tall, giant guy. He's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah.
The German one.
The German guy. And I like the black guy that he's friends with from the beginning.
Yep.
He's cool.
I mean, the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, the guy from the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Who?
Or Blood Diamond.
I
always think of Blood Diamond.
Blood Diamond, yeah. I like the princess, whoever she, I don't even know what title she has, but she's cool. I like her character. She develops a lot, and I think their relationship's interesting. And then the other side characters other than that are whatever. But so for me, dude, Joaquin Phoenix and Russell Crowe absolutely carry this movie. They're so interesting, especially Phoenix and Crowe for sure.
Okay. I also give this section a 6. I said unbelievably cool characters. Russell Crowe is awesome, and he plays Maximus. Obviously, he deserved the Oscar. Well, I don't know. Tom Hanks might have been close. But now that I really think about it. But to me, he didn't. I was looking for development in a lot of characters, and like you said, the sister, she develops, because at first she seems like everything's hunky-dory, and then she's like, okay, I think my brother's kind of insane, and then she eventually turns against him. But for me, Maximus didn't change much. He had some internal conflict there, with, am I going to be the next Caesar or whatever he was going to be made. I really like that part of the story. That was probably my favorite part, storyline, honestly.
Right.
Was that. Until, obviously, it ended really quickly. But for me, Maximus didn't develop a lot. To me, he was the same bad A guy the entire time. Whether he was the military leader, after he got betrayed. You see him, kind of... after he betrayed, he gets a little... not... defeated, I guess. You see him get kind of defeated, where he doesn't really want to do anything. It's almost like it feels like just kill me now kind of thing.
Right.
And
see, I kind of agree with you. I kind of disagree at the same time. So I think he develops from the sense of, at the beginning of the movie, he's very much driven by ideals. And in the middle, like you said, he loses his way. He is very much motivated by revenge and revenge only. At one point in the prison cell, she says something like, this politician wants the same thing that you want.
Yeah.
And he shouts,
then have him kill Commodus.
Yeah. And I was like, that's not really what he wants, is it? But in that moment, that's what he wants more than anything, because he's driven by that anger, by that revenge. But then in the end, it's more about Rome, and it's more about Marcus Aurelius and the goals that he had, and the vision that he had, and the ideals that he had. And so for me, he doesn't necessarily develop from beginning to end. It's more of a dip and then a rebirth at the end. So I don't know if you want to call that development or not, but for me, it's very circular. And I see your point.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I think that's really, really cool, too, to see a hero fall and really be motivated by nothing more than like revenge, but
No,
then also
yeah.
come out of that.
For sure. The villain, obviously creepy, but he was kind of the same the whole time, I think. He was just trying to get it, trying to become the Caesar the whole time.
I think he becomes darker and darker throughout the movie, and creepier.
I just
and
think he's
creepier
insane.
throughout. He is
The whole time.
no doubt.
He's
But I
just
feel
putting
like
on,
he
like, a
gets
show.
darker and darker the whole time. Like he's willing to kill.
It's almost like he gets more paranoid,
Lucius.
more and more paranoid.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what power does to people. It corrupts
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
What else?
When he's willing to kill Lucius and he's telling that like creepy, like metaphorical story
The story about
Claudius.
Oh.
About the king who was betrayed by someone he loves, and
Yeah,
yeah.
that was creepy.
Yeah, dude. Like, he's just like, yeah. I feel like he develops in like almost the opposite way. Like he's, yeah.
Let's see, something else. I said I never really felt like Maximus was in jeopardy of like losing. Like I had complete confidence in him the entire movie.
Oh yeah.
Like sure, so like his plan to escape fell through, but I never like thought he'd come out on the wrong side of things. Which ending he did a little bit, but he still won in a way.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I just had full confidence in him the whole time. It's almost like
That's true for
like when
every
you're-
hero ever,
yeah.
isn't it? I mean, Indiana
Yeah.
Jones, is he ever gonna die? James
Yeah.
Bond, is he ever gonna die? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's true for everybody.
I'm just saying. I just think he was a little OP.
That's true for every hero. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't take that.
Iron Man. Wait a minute.
You can't
Like
take.
the only way Maximus was able to get beat was to get shanked.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
He's
you
like-
can't take
he-
points away for the movie for that.
He's like
that's true for
Superman.
every movie ever.
He's like Superman of Rome.
That's not true. He gets injured early in the movie with that guy on the horse
And yeah, he does get injured in a dumb way.
in a dumb way because he's being an idiot, being selfish, being prideful, thinking he's
The
all
guy
that.
on the horse. I'm having trouble.
Like,
you guys
right
watched
after-
this movie last night. I watched it 2 weeks ago.
Well, like right after they were trying to murder him in the forest.
yeah.
He yells at the guy and tells him. To
Oh
come
yeah,
get
and
him.
he's riding through the desert and he's like slumping off.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll keep my score the same, but I see your guys' points.
What you got?
Okay, so for this, I am gonna give it a 10
Nice.
because I really do agree. I see both of your points, but I really do love, kind of like AJ said, Maximus, and I agree. And the whole point of he doesn't really, if we're looking at a straight incline, he doesn't do that. No, I agree with Luke at all because yeah, he really doesn't go up. But I like AJ's way of he starts here with ideals, and then he drops very drastically, and then he comes back up to his ideals. So yeah, it's a circular thing. I did like that, but I totally agree with Joaquin Phoenix. At the beginning, he just wants to be a good son.
He feels
and-
harmless in a way.
Yeah, at the very beginning, he feels he's still weird.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because like of the whole like when he gets out of the carriage and he's like riding off to meet his father and he looks at his sister and he's like kiss, and I was like wow, that's weird, dude. Just right away, like
They had to use the word sister multiple times early in the movie to
yeah,
make sure that we all knew that they were not romantic.
that was not there. That was creepy. Yeah,
Sister.
Yes.
yeah.
It's awkward whenever he goes and he asks his dad to like take his arm, and he's like, "Have I missed the battle?" And he says, "You've missed the war," and you're like, "Oh."
dude, that whole interaction right there, I was like, oh
And, then he's like,
damn.
and he's like, "I think it's time for me to leave," and you're just like,
Like right after the sun gets there,
Yeah.
"Bruh, this guy."
time to go.
Yeah, this guy.
But
But-
loves Maximus.
No.
So
doubt.
yeah,
No
so
doubt.
he really does seem like a harmless little boy.
Yeah.
And then he just once he kills his dad,
Yeah.
and then he just
How many
like he
times has Joaquin
declines.
Phoenix killed one of his parents on screen?
Probably a lot. That's 2 for sure.
It's at least 2.
Um,
I was like, oh dang.
but
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And he
just
devolves
devolves
throughout the movie. And
all the
he's
way.
willing to kill Maximus. He's obviously the whole time because he almost murdered him at the beginning. He starts using his sister, her kid as leverage.
Yeah.
He
Yep.
starts manipulating the politicians. He starts using the games for his advantage. Like he just becomes more and more clever and more more kind of like of a villain throughout the movie.
Yeah, and so I have like a Steelbook super box edition of this movie or whatever, and I watched for the first time. There's an extended edition, and it's got about 20-ish minutes
Oh, nice.
of
Like 5 hours.
more stuff. So it's almost 3 hours. I'll let y'all borrow it if you want. But it actually answered a few questions that may be more of a plot thing, but I'm going to loop one of them in with the character because it shows how insane he got because the senators are talking about how is he paying for these games.
Yeah.
We're having 150 days of games and not adding any more taxes is what they say.
150, golly.
And so they're like, how? And it comes out later because the sister knew he like sold like 2 years worth of grain supplies for Rome to be able to pay for that. So he's like, I don't care about my people because I'm going to make my people love me. And you're like, wait, it doesn't matter if they love you if they die.
Right.
But, so it's just like his...
They're not going to love you.
Yeah. So it's just like crazy decision after crazy decision. Yeah, but sure. I also really did enjoy the side characters, the 2 gladiator friends he makes. Mm-hmm. And I mean, even that, like the big germanium dude, he like starts off and he's like the bad A fighter until Maximus comes along. And even like the first battle in the Colosseum, Maximus is like, all right, everybody circle up. And he's like off on his own. He's like, no, I'm going to kill him myself or whatever.
Shot in the leg,
And then Maximus saves him. And after that, like they're like good friends and like he's making jokes, like eating the food to see if it's poison and stuff like that. So I feel like 10 is good for character.
Classic. Dude, so good. Okay, plot.
10.
I gave plot a 9.
Oh,
I gave plot
there
a 9.
went the 50.
I gave plot a 9. Okay, so it's funny because I feel like this movie tries to be intricate and kind of complicated, but it's really simple at the same time.
It's incredibly simple.
Yeah.
But there's these little subplots that come up and in and out, and you're like, I don't know what they're trying to do, but I like the twists and the turns in the movie. So there's not that many, but I love when the Emperor stabs Maximus. For sure was like the first time I saw the movie. You're like, what?
Yeah.
That was awesome. I loved the scenes I already talked about in the castle, whatever. It's not an actual castle. Whatever. I don't even care. When he's talking about Palace. He's using the kid as leverage, and he's like, that kind of subplot with the sister, and the sister tells on Maximus's plan, and then Maximus guy dies and gets shot. So but I feel like my favorite thing about the plot is that the whole movie builds and builds and builds and builds momentum on top of itself toward that climax with Maximus and Commodus in the ring, in the arena, in the Colosseum. And that scene is so cool and so iconic and just such a great climax that for me, all of the little kind of dinky, nitpicky things you could do with the plot, it's not great. It's okay here and there. It's a little bit, yeah. I mean, but for me, it's kind of the same thing I said earlier with the idea / premise. For me, it's the overarching story plot of Maximus and Commodus, and then them obviously fighting each other at the end. And then the ending is awesome. I just love the end, the last 20 or 30 minutes. So. What do you
got? I gave a section a 7. I said the pacing.
Highest score yet.
Highest score yet. I said the pacing was super strange.
It is highest, your lowest. That's funny.
Because it's like the beginning war stuff felt like really long, and then he gets sold in slavery, and then they're that sandy Colosseum place, and they're there for 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden they're in Rome, and then just they keep doing these weird time jumps, which I'm I feel like something needs to I need a little bit more context here.
Well,
I mean,
I agree.
You get it. You're like, all right, obviously they've promoted to the Roman Colosseum.
Well, they mention it. Proximo comes in and says the Emperor's doing this new game for 150 days, and he needs people. So
there's some strange things, strange jumps. It's we're here all of a sudden. Oh, look, Rome. I said, some farts, some farts. There was stuff I really liked the slave owner guy that owned him.
Yeah.
And I feel like him and Maximus had a connection.
Yeah.
But I feel like the connection needed to be more fleshed out because like he gives him the sword
Well,
and
so-
everything, and like all this other stuff. And,
The actor who played Proximo actually died while filming, like 3 weeks or so before filming ended.
Oh dang.
So they had to rewrite the script a little bit
okay, well that makes sense. Well,
because he was going to be one of the major.
I'll give him a
characters.
little leniency there, but it just
Yeah,
like
no,
felt
you're
like
right.
all of a sudden he
Yeah.
was gone. I was
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah, you're right.
Because he was the one probably my second favorite character behind
Yeah,
Maximus. I
love
liked him a
Proximo,
lot.
yep.
But no, I just like you said earlier, the plot was a little simple. Like it is incredibly epic. Like the fight with the
Oh, yeah.
tigress. Tigress?
Yep.
Tigress. I always feel like
great.
I'm talking about a girl when I say tigress.
Because
Kung Fu Panda?
Kung
Kung Fu Panda, yeah, Tigress.
Angelina Jolie's character.
Yeah, I was like Tigress, so I always question myself on that. And then like the fight at the end is like epic.
Yeah.
Every scene in the Coliseum's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, yeah.
And
well,
then-
and they, gosh, man, it's just they weave that throughout the movie. They talk about the heartbeat of Rome. Isn't the marble on the Senate floor? It's the
Right.
dust of the Colosseum. Like it's so iconic
then
to Roman culture.
I love like that's one of my favorite parts in like history is all that. Like I took a class on the medieval times, and that was a whole section in it in college.
Nice.
And that was super cool to learn about.
Yeah.
Which is the first time I watched a movie since I've had that class. So I'm like, oh, I understood that reference, like Captain America and Avengers. But
I
no,
understand that reference.
I got that one.
yeah, but no, the movie like
Monkey.
everything was very solid. I really just knocked it for the pacing, just because it was throughout.
Yeah. No, you're right. The pacing is awkward, and it's so like stop go stop go stop go.
Yeah.
They struggle there in the.
Well,
slow,
then
in
the
slow
part of the plot whenever he's gonna like escape, and then his assistant's out there on the horse, and he gets like brutally hanged that terrible way,
And then shot.
and then shot. Like that all felt like there was build up to it, and you're like, all right, cool, and all of a sudden it just happened. Like there was no like middle part to like ease you into it.
They fight a little bit at the like.
Well, they fight at the place, but I'm just saying like
yeah.
before that.
Yeah, he kind of gets away and then sneaks up on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He gets like the Boromir death, but like all at once.
Yeah, yeah,
all four arrows at once
yeah.
instead of periodically.
Okay. You gave it a 7?
But the
7.
ending, you like the ending?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember not liking it because I'm like, why did Maximus have to die? And then at the end, I was
Such a
like, all
good
right, he
ending.
kind of had to die.
It's such a good ending,
Yeah.
bro. Like so iconic. Like I love it when the bad guy and the good guy like physically fight at the end. Like a lot of times the bad guy dies like in an explosion or in whatever, and you're like,
But so like man versus man,
dude,
eye
like-
to eye.
Yeah.
I just love that, and it's just so good. And yeah, and then Maximus dying, I think that helps the plot. In my
It
opinion.
needed to happen.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to give it an 8. Just right there.
Right in the middle.
Between you guys. Because I agree with points on both sides. The plot is very simple. It's, of like it's the whole revenge story.
Yeah.
The bad guy did me wrong. I got to find my way to kill him.
Yep. Well, and the bad guy now
You know.
realizes the good guy's alive, so he's got to try to
Yeah,
kill him
thought
and
he was dead.
kill
He
him
comes
again.
back.
Yeah.
All this stuff. So the main underlying pieces
Yep.
are all very familiar, and that's kind of why I adopted an idea. But with plot, I feel like I can give it back more or a few of those points for the epicness, because this movie really does, and especially watching the extended version, it does feel like you're watching the Odyssey, or how that movie or that book is an epic, and that's why they call it that. It feels very similar because it feels like a journey.
For sure.
And because there with that the extra time, it did add a few, and I can't think of the other ones, but like it added some more scenes of Maximus and Proximo like talking about like being in the Colosseum and other things to make it where it work and great and all this other stuff and things like that. But the whole plot, like the fight scenes were awesome. They all really tied into the story and character development and a few other things like that. I'm trying to think of some other points. That's the bad part of like doing this on the fly. You're like, I don't have any actual points to
think
like
about
throw in. I'm like, oh wait, so let's see here. The Are You Not Entertained thing. That was one of the things that is in the extended version. because Proximo talks to Maximus right before that fight, and says, to be a good fighter, you have to entertain them. And he uses that word, entertain. And so it added, even though that was a really cool line, for me, even as a kid, I was like, that's a really cheesy line. I mean, like, yeah, it's epic and it's cool.
Yeah.
But having Proximo at the beginning, right before that fight, saying you really have to do this, this, and this to be a good gladiator and entertain them.
That's only in the extended edition?
Yeah.
I think I watched the extended edition because everything you're saying, I'm like, I remember that.
Well, and then, because Maximus is like, no, he doesn't say it, but he's like, that's dumb, forget it.
Yeah.
And he walks out and smokes those dudes. And then when he kills them, there's no applause or anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, and then he's like, are you not entertained?
I feel like
Because he's too good.
Well, and I feel like, honestly, he is disgusted at some level with this whole sport.
Yeah.
And so, because he's fought so many wars and battles and he's killed so many people, that he's like, people don't understand that this is barbaric. Like, this is crazy. No one should be cheering about this. No one should be, like, watching this happen for fun.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he does what he's supposed to do, and he wins the fight. Mm-hmm. And then he's mad because they're there literally to watch that. And he's like, this is stupid. Like, y'all are disgusting. Yeah. And so I feel like, and honestly, I feel like a lot of the movie talks about that kind of underhandedly. The theme of like how barbaric like those games like gladiating actually like was.
Right.
I think that's really interesting.
I could watch 4 hours of him just like hacking and slashing dudes. Like it's so like poetic and art. Like, dude, it's so good.
Well, and for them to have like the first, kind of like what you were, so I went in with what you were saying. Their first battle in the Colosseum was a reenactment of an actual battle in history.
Yeah,
Carthage. Yeah,
and which I thought that was really clever.
Well, and you hear Proximo say the massacre of Carthage, not the like battle.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the barbarians were like absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have a chance.
And that was another thing in the extended edition that I hadn't seen before. It's Proximo and the guy with the weird red wig.
The eyebrows.
And the crazy eyebrows. He's like talking about, he's like, why? He's like, I'm not going to put in, because apparently he knew or whatever, it was the massacre of Carthage. He's like, I'm not going to give you my best fighters to just go out and die immediately.
Yeah, right.
He's like, why don't you get people from the prisons and jails and stuff like that? And the guy's like, we've already done that. You're fighting. Do it, you know, or you're not going to get paid.
Right. Okay. Conflict, tension, urgency. I gave this section a 9. The conflict is just like
Chef's kiss.
So good in this movie. External, internal, personal, all 3 levels of conflict just meshed together beautifully. The tension in this movie is like through the roof.
Oh yeah.
And it's perfect. Urgency, I docked it at 1 point. It's pretty good, honestly, for being 2.5 hours long and being this epic of a story.
Yeah.
The urgency is actually pretty good, but it's not quite 10 out of 10 worthy. So I gave it a 9. Man, those moments of tension are so thick and so strong with Commodus.
Anytime they're on the screen together.
Oh, bro.
Anytime, like...
Pretty much anytime Commodus is on screen.
Yeah.
So good.
He's so unpredictable.
Well, and even the moments in the Colosseum are tense. I mean, so yeah, I gave the section a 9. I thought it was outstanding.
This is my highest rated section. I give it an 8. Like you said, conflict's freaking outstanding. Good tension. Like, we've explained that one. And then urgency. Urgency for me was fleeting because they're literally just waiting day to day to do their thing.
Yeah.
It's like those little tiny moments of urgency within the battles, kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
But to me, this movie was very paced based on day-to-day stuff because it was literally like, go fight and then wait the next day. There's no like, we need to get this done.
The urgency comes into play at the end. Smidge with the
kill him before I die.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but even before that, whenever they come to Proximo's house or whatever that is to take Maximus away. From that point on, I feel like it's pretty urgent.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But no, Luke's right. It's very much a like, this is urgent right now, and then it's not, and it's pretty slow for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm actually going to give this section a 10 out of 10 just because of the conflict and tension.
So good.
It just, those two, I agree, urgency's not there, but conflict wouldn't carry it by itself for me because of the creepy tension.
Yeah.
Whatever the heck
So good.
you want to
Well,
talk
and that
about.
song that they play every time he's on screen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like you hear that over the horns whenever he goes down to talk to.
Yes.
And you're like,
Oh, dumb.
oh, dude, like that's just like gross and creepy and weird. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, it's just so messed up.
But
it's
the
so good.
the tension just between them. But
So
I
good.
really do. Yeah, I think and it's so funny to now because this is the first time I've watched the movie since watching Joker.
Oh yeah,
To see
yeah.
some like that he really was the perfect role for Joker.
Yeah.
And this,
Yeah.
honestly.
Good parallels.
Well, how much like pull does he take from his role in Gladiator to like Arthur Fleck? Like it's not the same
Oh.
character, obviously,
Right, yeah, right.
but he's got a lot of those same riffs. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Cinematic elements. So I gave the section a 9, and I tried to be a little bit objective because of the time period. So it is 2000. They do some somewhat cheesy stuff in the movie, and I'm not a huge fan of some of the stuff they do.
Yeah.
Some of it's because of it was cool then. Some of it's because they didn't have technology then. So I kind of tried to help it a little bit, but I still took a point away. I said pretty good acting. Honestly, really great acting from the top 2 guys. Everybody else pretty good. Nothing bad. I said the score by Hans Zimmer and Lisa Gerrard was really great. I think it's one of the highest selling movie scores of all time, like on
Wow.
iTunes and stuff, which is crazy.
That's interesting.
Cinematography was cool. They did some really kind of interesting things there. They did some kind of weird things I wasn't a fan of. Stunts were pretty cool. Some of the fight scenes were really, really cool.
Yeah.
You can tell that they were using like pretty heavy actual swords. In some old movies, you can tell that they're like
Like little flimsy
but in
rubber swords.
But in Gladiator, you can tell. I mean, they're pretty cool. And they're going after it. So the 2 things I kind of had a problem with specifically, one was the slow mo.
Oh my god.
Not a bit. Okay, I'm personally not a fan.
Oh, you talking about the very beginning?
Yeah,
Yeah, like 15 frames per second.
yeah.
Yes.
God.
It was just like not
That was not good.
Not a good
That
choice.
should never be in any movie.
Not a great choice.
Never,
Well, and it was like a
no.
slow mo with the sped up slow mo.
Well, they did slow mo later in the movie that looked good,
Yeah.
and then I'm like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of slow mo. Period. Like in general, like
you must
if
hate
you're gonna
Michael Bay.
use slow mo, it's gonna be like
Like
real cool. You know, like an explosion in slow mo is like pretty cool. I'll get down with that. But like the slow mo in the beginning of this movie specifically, there's some other slow mo later on, but just like ugh, it was bad. It was really bad. I couldn't tell if it was a decision that they made,
That's an
like
artistic
artistic choice,
Yeah.
and it was like it just made it.
That's
Maybe it
not
was really
good.
cool back then, but like now it just hasn't translated.
Yeah.
The other thing was the CGI.
Yeah.
Is okay. Like it's what you can like, especially the end whenever he's like floating over the like ground. That's bad. That's really bad. I didn't like that scene. I just like the dream sequence stuff. Like just get rid of it. Just cut to him walking through the field with his hand and like just cut to that. You don't have to do this. Like, you know. I'm not a big fan of that.
It makes no sense. All right.
So
well,
anyway,
here,
I
I'll
gave it a
talk about
9.
it.
I loved this movie, so I gave it a 9. Those 2 things for me were big. Like meh. Everything else was great.
I give this section a 7, and honestly, I was gonna give it a 5. Because like I think some stuff looked great. Like when they first showed up to
Yeah,
Rome, I was
no
like,
doubt.
holy crap, that looks freaking good.
Yeah, the CG on like the city was really
A
great.
lot of the cityscapes looked great.
Yep,
I was
yep.
like, I was very impressed. I remember sitting there going like, holy crap, Danielle, that's freaking Rome. Because the Colosseum looked big and epic, and you're just
humongous,
like, wow.
They actually made it bigger in the movie than it is in real life.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny. They were like, this doesn't look big enough. Make it bigger.
That's funny.
Yeah, some stuff I referenced, like you said, was the slow mo. Like,
Yeah, I
that's
didn't-
an artistic choice because obviously you can do great slow mo. You did it earlier. Anybody can do good slow mo. And it's just like, why did you do that at like 10 frames per second? Like, I can't tell what's going on. It's like the fight scenes, like in movies now, where everything's like shaking so much. You're like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I think that's basically to hide that they're not actually like hitting each other and stuff
Right.
like that.
It just killed me because the gladiator scenes are so freaking cool in the slow-mo in those scenes
Yeah.
is really cool.
Well, it
but
hides
then-
the fakeness of it all.
But the beginning battle was just like the beginning battle's really cool too until
Up until that point.
Until that point,
Yeah.
it's like this montage of slow-mo, and you're like,
Yeah.
what is happening right now?
Something else I'm going to bring up is the tigers. So they looked good for the most part.
Yeah.
There's a couple times where it's like the close up to the tiger hitting them or something, and you're like, ooh. That's like at one point, like it
You
was
can
the
tell-
tiger jumped on his back, and I was like, that tiger's not even alive, whatever that is.
You can tell the shots that they had real tigers on screen for because
Yeah.
they're like 15, 20 feet away from them.
Yeah.
They're in the back. But then the ones where they're like all up on you, you're like, oh,
I was like, that
you can
doesn't
tell they
even
didn't
look
use. Yeah, they actually flew in real tigers for that shot. It's pretty cool.
Pride from Tiger King.
Yeah, there you go.
From Doc
Joe Exotic.
or
Ansel,
whatever.
yeah.
Angel. Oh, rip.
My last note on this is the weird moving background, like
Yep.
you said.
Yep.
So that's
I don't know
like,
if that was CGI or if that was like a rolling
no, so
screen
that's like
or what
they
that
had
was.
him probably lay down on a green screen, close his eyes, and then they just they went in later and put a moving background in after
hate
they
that,
did the
bro.
green screen. But
Hate
man,
that.
that's just like
I hate
that
that.
felt so out of place.
Yeah, I hate that.
It really did. Like
For such a beautiful ending, like a great ending.
Yeah.
And a beautiful ending because it's a callback to the very first shot of the movie with his hand in the
Yeah.
wheat and walking toward the door. Like that's such a great idea, great shot. Tie it all together, but then you interrupt it with this like sliding thing.
I think it's just poor execution. That's another like
Yeah.
artistic choice that just didn't pan out because it's like this is like his journey from here to like the afterlife, the dream world, because that's a lot of what like the Romans and Colosseum people not Colosseum people, but that time like believed in. Like,
Yeah,
they
Greek
go-
and Roman.
And to me, that's like
Elysium.
him going down like the river Styx and whatnot.
Elysium, yeah.
Yep.
They just like that's the more realistic way of doing that, I guess, instead of actually him going to a river and there's a
Yeah.
guy in a boat.
Yeah.
But it just didn't look good. It just fell out of place, like you said. Just go straight to him, like his hand running
such
over
a
the
great
wheat.
shot
like
too. It's
that.
a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree.
Actually, if you walk around in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, if you walk slowly through the fields, your character will do that.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, you should try it.
I'll have
Such
to try
an
that.
iconic shot. That's actually not Russell Crowe's hand either.
Really?
It's a stunt double's hand. I read that yesterday on.
What was Russell Crowe doing?
I know. I was
No
like,
kidding.
I was
What
like-
the dump?
I was like, I can't ever look at that shot the same
He's like,
way.
nah, I'm allergic to wheat.
Dude, yeah.
His hand didn't look as good as the stunt
Yeah, the
double. Like,
stunt
wait,
double's hand
what?
was way better looking. Yeah.
That's funny.
What
So
did you
you
give?
okay? You gave it a 9.
You gave it a
7.
7.
He gave it a 7.
You're gonna go an 8. On the fence.
5.
Well, yeah, go lower than Luke. Let's go.
You want?
No, I'm gonna go a 9.
Love it.
Mainly because of Russell Crowe's acting.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I've noticed it before, but like I noticed it a lot today. Like when like he's stabbed in the end and then he's fighting and he's like, again, it's maybe a director choice, actor choice, whatever. He's like guarding the injured side really, really well. It makes it look good. But the scene that I noticed a lot was right after he kills Commodus and he kind of like turns around and he like starts to open the door and then it's a close up of his face and then the other guy is like, Maximus. And the way like his facial expression and his eyes, like they're kind of like glazed over. And then like when he says his name, like the only thing that changes is his eyes. And you legit like see him come out of it. And I'm just like, that is a pro acting, right? Boom, right there. I do agree. It does not deserve a 10. But because of the slow-mo thing was weird. I agree. Some of the big wide shots of the city that were CG, to me, I thought looked really weird. They looked a little too cartoony almost, like too CGI. And yes, it's 2000. I'm way too used to Avengers Endgame, stuff like
Our
that.
standards are way too
We're askew.
Yeah.
Whereas, and it's funny that I'm the exact opposite of both of you guys. I did not mind, and yes, maybe it could have looked better. I did not mind the scene
with his head.
and because honestly, to me, and I'm sure Luke's probably right because he knows what he's looking at more than I do. To me, it honestly looked like they had him like on a raised surface and like actually carried him across the ground and just like sped it up. I thought it looked fine. I don't know. I'm not a pro at all.
What did y'all
but
think of all the wide shots of time passing. There were a bunch of them randomly throughout the movie. It would be a sun going through the
Like
thing.
a time lapse?
Yeah. Or the
I guess I
cloud.
didn't notice those.
You didn't notice those?
No.
I noticed it a couple
Oh, I
of
noticed
times.
the clouds.
They
Yeah.
happened 3 or 4 times throughout the movie.
That doesn't really bug me.
No, I didn't.
I think
thought it was
I think it's a smart choice to show time passing.
Yeah.
But some other things that I noticed, the music. That's another reason for me to give it
Love the music.
a 9 or
Annoying.
10.
So good.
I could give it a 10 just based off of Russell Crowe's acting and the music because being, a music guy, I notice that stuff a lot. And I think of a lot of, scenes in movies, and I'm trying to think of a good way to make it a top 5, but scenes that give you goosebumps. And a lot of those tie into the music. And especially at the very beginning battle, like where it gives you that really wide shot of the battle scene, and like all these fire arrows and catapult launches and are getting shot, and the music is going, and then the cavalry comes in from behind, and the dogs like running through the fire and all this stuff. If the music wasn't there, it would still be a cool scene, but it wouldn't be as cool.
Yeah. Could you tell that it was
Hans Zimmer?
It was the inspiration for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, Hans Zimmer does that in every one of his scores. If you listen, every movie Hans Zimmer does, at one point in the movie, it's going to have dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Every movie is going to have it. He just exploited it in Pirates of the Caribbean a lot. But yeah, it was in that scene at the beginning. And yeah, I just
was
hear
like,
it.
is this the Pirates of the Caribbean? And I was like, I actually should have came out first, but yes,
It's
the same guy.
It's the same guy, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the music, the Commodus theme is awesome.
Commodus theme.
It's so good.
And then the how he wrote like the stuff with like the violins and the really
the vocal
Roman,
is really cool
and then
too,
the song at the very end with that vocalist.
That's great.
And then which that led to a bunch of other movies after that doing something very similar.
I don't even know what language that is, but it's beautiful.
I don't know either, but yeah, 9.
There was something else I was going to ask y'all. I can't remember what it was. Okay, total score is a 47 for me.
For me, it is a 34.
Oof.
34.
Oof.
I feel bad.
Mine's a 44.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So I would say that I won this round of debating with Luke to sway Paul. My direction.
So there were a couple of them that I was like, especially the idea / premise. I was like, okay, yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
But I mean, All Day Long character for me is solid.
It's just such a great movie, man. Like, I hate picking apart movies that I like.
Yeah.
It
sucks.
You're just like, oh. But this movie, I literally, I looked for things that bothered me and for things that I didn't like. And it was a very short list.
Oh, that was another thing that I thought looked really, really bad in Cinematic Elephants was the maggots in his wound. I thought that looked really, really dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that didn't look good.
You mean before the guy puts the food or
It's like
whatever?
that
Yeah.
weird, yeah.
It looked very fake.
Yeah, you're right.
So I agree because I did that too. I was like, okay, I gotta look for things.
I was like, I really love this movie, so I gotta find weaknesses. I gotta find things to talk about.
We're gonna do that for Saving Private Ryan. I'm scared.
Yeah.
Whew.
So what's next?
There's
week?
nothing wrong
Do
with
we even
that.
know what next week is? I don't even
Yeah,
know.
we
Martian,
do.
right?
It's Martian.
Oh, cool. Okay, meta questions.
2 Ridley
real quick.
Scott movies.
Yeah, Ridley Scott.
Wow.
Ridley Scott is underrated.
Yeah, you guys should watch The Gentleman. Come on.
He's my number 3 director.
I like the Robin Hood movie he made with
a good one. With Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe a lot. You can see a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Okay, top 25 movie of all time.
I don't think it's in mine.
It's not on my list. It's definitely top 50 for sure.
Oh yeah. It's a tier 1 movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll agree.
It's in my top 10. I forget where. It's like 9. It's like 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. Must watch list from earlier today. Where'd you have it? I had it at 2.
I had it at 2.
It was my 4.
4. Yeah. So whether it's in your top 25 or not, I think we all agree that it's like
Oh yeah.
must watch, like
For real.
as a human being. Best Ridley Scott movie? Question mark.
Yes. No.
So Ridley Scott's got Robin Hood, Martian,
I'm probably
Blade
gonna say
Runner,
yes.
Alien,
Gentleman.
Gentleman, Gladiator. Those are kind of his more famous ones.
I'm gonna say yes.
I
He
would
also
say-
did Kingdom of Heaven was another good one.
I forgot about Kingdom of Heaven. I love that one. It's a good one.
That's a little lesser known, but also a really, really good
I like
movie.
that one a lot.
Actually, I don't think he did The Gentleman. I lied.
I was about to say he
it's
did
Guy
The Gentleman.
It's Guy Ritchie.
Guy
Yeah.
Ritchie. That's who it was. Dang it.
I would
He's
say
a-
number one for sure for me, no doubt in my mind.
He was a producer on Blade Runner 2049. Does that count?
No.
You're not gonna go original Blade Runner.
I don't know. He did Alien, man.
This isn't Alien's not as good as Gladiator.
Alien's good. Blade Runner's good.
I'm not a fan of
good.
Alien at all.
Gladiator is way better than Blade
Let's
Runner.
see. This is a top 3 for sure.
Man of Fire. He did Man of Fire too.
He did?
Yeah.
Man on Fire.
Denzel?
He did Black Hawk Down.
He did?
Wait.
American Gangster.
Yeah,
I knew he did American Gangster. I didn't know he did
Yeah, he did Black
Hawk
Hawk Down. Was it?
Great
Wait,
one.
Man on Fire might have been his brother. Wait a minute. I don't remember. Doesn't
I
matter.
don't see Man on Fire.
That was his
okay.
brother then.
Russell Crowe, top 3, top 5, number
Yep.
1.
Yep. Number 1.
Easily.
I think it's number 1 for me. I mean, Robin Hood maybe 2.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a movie that would top it. So
Number 1. Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix.
no. Number 2.
Joker.
Number 2?
Number 2. Yeah.
After Joker, obviously. All of us agree.
Well, after Signs.
And
Ooh.
he's not.
I'm kidding. This is my number. This is number 2. He's great in Joker. You can't deny that.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't really have any other question. My last question is kind of about Rome and the conversation throughout the movie of what is Rome, the idea of Rome, the kind of argument between an empire and a republic. Like, I don't know how to phrase that question, but what did y'all think of that theme in the movie? Did it add to the movie? Did it take away from the movie? Did you not really notice it? Did you not really care?
I didn't notice it, but I like it though.
I did notice it. It was a really good underlying C plot.
Yeah.
Because if we're, because that's always been a big thing, especially for, just times in general, depending on whether you like our president or not, to really think about, does the system work, or would it be better to just have a ruler? And so that's something that Rome itself has been doing for forever.
Yeah.
To have, nothing and then Caesars or Senate and then Caesars and then both is really an interesting thing. I thought it added a little bit to it to just give Maximus a bit more of a motivation other than revenge.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really the only good part about it, because honestly, I hated all of the senators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you're supposed to.
Right.
They're politicians.
I think it is a part of a plot. You're supposed to hate all of them. Even the one that's the good senator, he was just annoying.
Yeah.
So yeah, because and that's probably a thing of, there's this idea that was Rome. That's what they said a lot. And Marcus Aurelius said it and said it's never happened in my time, because I've had 25 years as Caesar and 20 of them have been in war. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think his perfect ideal of what Rome should be would be a time of peace where basically everybody got along.
Yeah.
Right.
Which not really
gonna happen.
anybody
Yeah,
has ever
yeah.
perfected that.
Well, I just think it's interesting because I love history. I'm just a history person. But I just think it's really interesting that they chose to talk about that as much as they did
Yeah.
in the movie. Because a lot of people will try to equate the U.S. to ancient Rome, to the Empire of Rome, in the sense of the ideal that is Rome is a government for the people, by the people, of the people, right?
Yeah.
That's what he even says. He's like, I am a man of the people. He's like, I don't speak, but he's actually not, because he's rich and he's a politician.
Right.
And so he's talking about how the politicians have corrupted Rome. Marcus Aurelius talks about the disease that Rome has and how he wants to give it back to the people. And so for me, I thought that was really interesting, kind of thinking about that in terms of the United States.
On the other side, Commodus is talking about dissolving the Senate.
Right. He's like, the Senate's pointless, so why not get rid of it and have one person in charge?
Yeah.
And so to me, it's just so fascinating to see those correlations between ancient Rome and the U.S.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I love this movie. Big fan of this movie. I think everyone needs to watch it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was on all of our top fives, I think.
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
So I do have one other question that's more of like a discussion topic.
Okay.
And it mainly was because of what Luke said about Danielle watching Braveheart first and not liking Gladiator as much.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite side of that coin.
You
I watched
watched
Gladiator first, and I don't like Braveheart that much.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's not a good movie, but it wasn't even in my honorable mentions of the movies you should watch.
Right.
Like, I was glad we did it for the podcast. I think I scored it in the high 30s, if not low 40s.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. I think Gladiator is way, way, way better.
That's interesting.
So
I
I
agree with
wonder
that.
how that, like,
See,
why that is,
Yeah.
what that conversation is.
I was
you know
the
what I
same
mean?
way because I watched Gladiator first before I've seen Braveheart. I mean, just to repeat what you said, like I love Braveheart. Braveheart's
Yeah.
an awesome movie. It was in my honorable mentions for movies everyone should see. But I think Gladiator is the better telling of like that kind of story.
Yeah. And I mean, see, for me, like, I don't own Braveheart, and I don't think I ever will, honestly. Like I said, I don't hate the movie, but it's not one that I just think of.
It doesn't click with you.
See, for me, it's so funny because those movies are like permanently linked
Yeah.
in my mind. Like they go together. When I watch one, I watch the other. It's like they're sequels of each other. It's so bizarre.
That's funny.
It's so bizarre, and I love them both almost equally. I would give the nod slightly to Braveheart.
Yeah.
It's on mine. It's like number 3 or 4 in my top 25 of all time. It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies ever. Gladiators too. It's in my top 10. So it's like I love both of those movies. I like William Wallace better than I like Maximus.
You just like the character.
I like him better as
Yeah.
a character. I like the independence, freedom storyline
Yeah.
better than the revenge and like return Rome to its former self
Yeah.
storyline.
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Gladiator. I just spent an
Yeah.
hour and a half talking about it. But for me, Braveheart is interesting for those reasons, and I like it slightly better.
I got you.
But for whatever reason, man, they're like linked in my mind. And I
It's
think
the
it's
same
because
way.
I watched them together as a kid. Like my dad was like, okay, here we go, rated R. Movie number 1, movie number 2.
Yeah.
And they just go together.
Yeah.
I've honestly probably seen them almost exactly the same amount of times.
Okay.
That's
There's not one of them I've seen more than the other. Maybe by 1 or 2 times, but not by very
Not by
many.
a lot.
Yeah. And so it's like, man, and they're both iconic and they're both so good and so epic.
Yeah.
And it's really funny they came out within 3-5 years of each other,
Something.
something like that. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, bro, yeah. So I don't know. And man,
I mean, I'm not trying to like
it's
say one
interesting.
way is
No.
wrong.
it's really interesting.
but
that-
it's just an
that's
interesting.
true.
Well, it's like what you said. You just like William Wallace better. I like Rome, like the setting of Rome better, and the the
See,
things that come along with that.
I think
than
that may be
what
a piece of
Braveheart
it.
is.
Yeah.
I think that's a piece of it for me too, because I love just Greek Roman mythology in general.
Yeah.
Whereas to me, I guess I get the independence piece, but to me, I've never known anything hardly about Scotland or Ireland or wherever, whatever.
Right.
And it just doesn't interest me. And I guess that may be a piece of it too, which I didn't think of, because I love almost anything Greek, Roman, that
Assassin's Creed Odyssey
era. Yeah, Odyssey. I mean, we talk about like I'm playing through Odyssey right now. I've watched 300. And it's because it's about Sparta and things
Yeah.
like that. But I, even as a kid, when I was going through school, we had a course on Greek mythology, and so I know probably way too much about Greek gods and all these other tales about Achilles and Perseus and all this stuff that's crazy. But so I think that may be a part of it for me personally, why I like it so much more.
That's interesting. It's a fun conversation, man. I just like talking about good movies. So it's a
Yeah.
lot of fun for
I
sure.
agree. That was good. Is that all we got?
That's all I got.
I think so.
Martian next week.
Martian.
Next week.
Great movie.
Get ready, bias.
Ridley Scott,
Great movie.
Matt Damon,
See his skinny little booty there for a little bit.
Great movie. Man.
Captain Redbeard.
Yeah.
Great movie.
All right. Well, if that's all we got, we'll end it there. I think it's one of our longer episodes. I feel like it was at least.
No, I mean, well, top 25 was obviously.
Oh yeah.
But
like,
it might be a little. It's close to 2 hours.
all right. Well, we'll stop before we get there. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.